My friends, we are back. I don't feel right now if this isn't on some sort of thing. Hello, my name is Gwen Stefani. We're going no hands. We'll do it live, no hands. It just, I'm gonna have to do awkward things with my hands now that I talk. Okay, hello my friends. It's been another long time since I've sat down and done a recording. This is literally happening the day before it's due to be released. So it's been a while since I've actually been able to sit down, and boy, am I in the midst of a massive perspective shift, both personally and artistically. Things have changed a lot in the past 9 days since we've talked, but for me specifically, things have changed a lot in the past week. So first, before we jump into any of that, let's talk about the pieces that I have next to me. You're looking at a sub-series within within the series that I've been working on. It continues the stark background portraiture, but we're working with smaller pieces and then obviously white backgrounds. And the reason I call it a sub-series is I think they're both good examples of my, it's a lot more defined than I usually do, and it's just black and white with no color in it. And then this is just all color, all paint, all texture, like no amount of this in it. And so I think these serve as sort of a bookend each for the type of work that can be expected from me, at least in this current frame of where I'm at with things. So that's kind of the purpose behind these two. You are going to be seeing this piece painted over top of while I'm talking to you guys, because I don't feel like painting today, and I'm not gonna force it and do something that's disingenuine to myself and to you guys. But without further ado, let's jump into the actual paintings themselves. So this work at the bottom here was this was done before the massive changes happened in my perspective, but it was done like basically right before it. During the period of I was not able to sleep for 4 or 5 days. Really, I was still getting a couple hours of sleep a night, but I would wake up in the middle of the night extremely panicked and scared, and having like the world move around me. It was really uncomfortable, and so I'd be up for 3 to 4 hours a night in that position. And this came during that time. This came during right after I realized what was causing all of those unfortunate situations. This came after, it's sort of, I guess, I'm not gonna talk about it literally, but I think you can see the starkness, the difference in not knowing versus knowing. You know what I'm saying? There's something that's been witnessed with this top one. Is, I would say, probably the best description that I could give it. But the bottom one, I was sitting there, and I really wanted to, like, for some reason I felt compelled and like I could take what I've been doing in terms of the layering and the colors and the texture and everything like that, and then condense it down to just a few important strokes, and then just leave it from there and trying to pursue the minimum amount of necessary marks for this one. This actually comes out of a drawing style that I just developed. So we're kind of getting to a point where, in order to really discuss this, we have to sort of talk about what happened in the what happened in the past week. So basically, I had those several days where I was not able to sleep, and that was very difficult for me. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I am dealing with something called FND, which is functional neurological disorder. There's a lot of different ways to explain it, and I've seen it explained a lot of different ways, from all the way from, you know, very high level ways to like, you know, the actual scientific processes behind it. And I think the best way that I can convey it in this video is basically FND arises when somebody somebody has some sort of difficult emotions that aren't able to be processed through the body, and over time are repressed and repressed and repressed, and eventually it causes weird issues where, like, you know, some people literally get paralysis and they end up on the floor and they can't move, or some people have weird twitches and stuff like that. For me, it's mostly vestibular, so meaning it fucks with my sense of balance and my sense of like proprioception, like where my body is in space, and that kind of thing. It's very, very uncomfortable because you'll just be sitting there, you'll be in a room, and all of a sudden it's going a million miles an hour, and you're like, oh God, it's this again. That's sort of what I learned about it. Before, I didn't have that good of an understanding. I sort of had a little bit of an understanding, but I didn't know that really what it relates to is the nervous system being hyperactivated for extended periods of time and then causing issues with signaling because of that hyperactivation. And so what that taught me is that I need to make sure that I feel safe, neurologically speaking, not like rationally speaking, because rationally speaking, I can look around, see that I'm in a room and I feel safe. But neurologically speaking, I will be like, I feel like I'm being hunted or something like that. And it's not just like anxiety. It's like like I've been explaining it like to my wife like this, in that, I mean, it's a very literal feeling that I keep expecting to look over my right shoulder and there will be somebody with a gun pointed at my head. And there obviously never is. But that's sort of like this weird, bad, looming feeling that I sometimes get. And so I've started to really prioritize feeling safe, meaning like I put my back against things really hard and press up against, so I know that there's nothing behind me. And you know, if I need to completely shut down all of the lights, turn off all of the sounds, everything, do that, go into a little bubble, I'll do it. I'll do anything that I have to do to make myself feel safe. Because at that point, I was not sleeping, and I just was so desperate to get one decent night of sleep. And so, finally, after treating this very seriously, like a neurological safety problem, and then doing things like somatic work, which is like processing emotions through your body and stuff like that, I was able to get a good night's sleep, and it was awesome. And then the next morning, within 30 minutes, I was hit by a horrifying realization. I'm not going to talk about the exact contents of that, just because it's extremely personal and honestly very disturbing. And I don't think that it's not a good thing for people to be thinking about events like that. I realized that essentially something horrible happened when I was a very young child, when I was not old enough to protect myself. And that was extremely difficult. I went through a lot of different stages that day, from extreme anger of how could anybody do such a thing, to like disbelief of like, how could anybody that I know do such a thing? Like, it just doesn't make... Anyway, so I had that sort of realization. I had a lot of emotional processing to go through. And during all of this, I need to be able to create something, because that, for me, it's a form of regulation. But I am so overwhelmed. I cannot get off of the couch. And so that's hence part of the reason why this painting is so small. But I basically picked up these two books. This one, which is just like a workbook for something I'm doing in therapy. And then this book, which is just like my little black book, which I write everything down in, and I do all my sketches in and everything like that. And I just, between those two, I just sat and I started doing like scribble drawing, in the sense of trying to take what I do in paint and trying to translate it to drawing. And, you know, at first it wasn't good. It was just like a slight extension of the previous types of drawing that I had done. But after practicing and just working on it, and just really like my whole goal in all of it was turn your brain off. Don't record any of it. Don't do any of this for anything else. Just turn your brain off and just start scribbling, just making stuff on the paper, because I need to get some sort of like pent up emotions out. So I started doing that and developing that drawing style, I guess. And then I slept decently the next day, but not great. And then I got one more really, really good night's. Actually, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I had that realization. I've been working on my drawings and everything like that. I go to bed. I sleep again quite well. I wake up the next day. An even more horrifying realization, again, of which I can't really discuss, but even worse than the first one. And that, like, as soon as I realize what happened, I get super sick, super hot, like the world starts spinning all around me. I feel like I'm gonna throw up, vomit. Well, that's the same thing, but I feel like I'm gonna throw up and I'm gonna faint at the exact same time. And oh my God, it was extremely overwhelming. But I was able to get myself sort of grounded in the present moment, and everything sort of started coming back a little bit by little bit. And then I got to a point where I was genuinely feeling good again. And I sort of realized, like, man, I feel so much better having like this. The stuff is not processed. It's not fully integrated or anything like that, but it's not repressed anymore, which is like a huge, wild relief off my shoulders. Like, I haven't been able to be in any social contexts yet, although I will be going to like a social event on October 25th, so we will see. But I feel like so much less nervous of people, and I feel so much less attached to external validation just from having these moments, which is a very interesting thing. Doesn't mean that I'm completely detached from external validation, because everybody wants to feel like what they're doing is wanted. But I have definitely shifted perspective in the sense of like, the art that I'm making is not going to be made for the purpose of trying to show what I'm capable of, but rather just simply expressing something that I'm feeling in a moment. And I know I've been trying to get at that for a long time, and I've been talking about doing that, and I do that. But I do find myself sometimes in the later phases really polishing into oblivion, trying to show what I'm capable of. But realistically, I'm also learning a lot. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to do my previous approaches. I'm just saying that I have no guilt to make work anymore. There's no part of me that, when I'm not feeling like painting, there's no part of me that is like, let's go try it. Let's just go check it out. Like, no. I produce as much as I need to produce, and I don't need to force work when it's not wanting to come out. That's how you get subpar work. So anyways, I started feeling a lot better after all of these, after these two sets of realizations. And I'm in a very different place, mentally speaking, now, in terms of, I guess you kind of know what the enemy is now. You know what I'm saying? You know what the thing is. Whereas before, I literally didn't know. These are literally like repressed, fragmented memories that my brain did not write to memory very, very well at all. And later, just as of like yesterday, I had an appointment with my therapist where I was talking to her about sort of like, you know, the things that were going on. She was asking if I had any like sensory, if I had remembered any sensory input about the situation. And I didn't at the time. But then like I got done, and dude, I started getting such intense flashbacks. It was horrifying. I've never gotten something like that in my life. And I've been through an entire round of cognitive processing therapy for completely unrelated trauma. And I used to get flashbacks for that shit, but the flashbacks were not severe like this. Like this is, like you're in a room and it's going down, and it's like you can feel it like happening to you at the same time, and it's very overwhelming. It's extremely overwhelming, and it's very scary. And if it happens at night, then you're left dealing with it as you go to sleep, which is very unfortunate. But that's not all to complain, because genuinely speaking, I think you could probably tell from my emotiveness and the way that I'm talking to you guys, I am feeling a hell of a lot better than I have been feeling in the past while. It's just my perspective has fully changed on a lot of things, and now I'm sort of integrating things. And that's why it felt pretty appropriate to come to you sort of today, just not necessarily painting or doing anything like that, but sort of integrating and talking about just the perspective shift. And so this specific piece came after the second major realization, and before the super intense flashbacks. And I think, in my mind, it captures that witnessing perfectly. It's honestly, as different as it is from a lot of my work, my favorite stuff that I do is like the minimalist stuff like this, and then like this is very, like I said, very different, but I really like the sketching that I've been up to. Yeah, let me read you these the realizations that led me to getting to where I was able to sort of process my stuff. So FND is relating to nervous system activation, not physical exertion. Sometimes physical exertion follows, but it is not a useful diagnostic. To help, you must address the root cause of consistent activation, unexpressed emotion in the body. FND arises when your emotions are suppressed long enough to where they shut down due to hardship. But when the hardship is less hard, emotions must be processed. Therefore, treatment is possible, but to do so, you must process emotions through the system that's freaking out, which is the nervous system. To cause no further harm, emotions and true desires may no longer be suppressed. And by true desires, I don't mean things like drinking beer and smoking weed. I mean things like safety and comfort. And then I have it written down right below. True desires come from the soul, not impulse. The soul and the body, not the impulse. Therefore, treatment is somatic exercises to move built-up emotions through me. And I must learn to do what I want, what my actual nervous system wants. When I'm upset, I must express it. When I'm feeling something, I must express it. The point is to try to remove the barrier between emotion and expression in day-to-day life while still being able to sort of control your emotions. Because obviously it's not good to be running around yelling at people because you're mad or something like that. But I hope you can understand where I'm getting from, or where I'm getting at here. Sometimes leisure is distraction, sometimes leisure is just leisure. Only by pausing and sitting with yourself can you know for sure. Shoulds are internalized external voices. Safety is required for processing, and that includes your nervous system's perceived safety in a given moment. Productivity pressure brings back suppression because you're moving too fast and operating on validation. Integration requires rest and time. Interoception can be built up like a skill, so the longer you sit with a confusing sensation in your body and experiment with them, meaning trying to find various different solutions, the easier it gets to recognize the sensations in the first place. And then this is FND work, but also for me, it's sort of working through the process of individuation, which that one is a little bit more like maybe not. Individuation it's a process of sort of, it's described by Carl Jung. I'm not going to go too into it because if I tried to explain it to you, I would sound like a dumbass because I don't know the entire thing. I know little bits and pieces here and there, but not enough to explain it to a camera. I guess just as a very quick summary, becoming who you're meant to be. You can keep it there. I'll maybe throw up a definition on screen, maybe not. Don't get mad at me if I don't. I will try to remember, but sometimes I miss those things. I cannot take responsibility for the emotions of anyone else. If someone wants me to know how they feel, they must tell me, except for my son, because he's only 1 year old in a couple of months, so he literally does not have the capacity. So as a dad, I owe it to him to, you know what I'm saying, to be a dad. But yeah, those were the series of realizations that led me to being able to get to where I am now, which is having processed these major issues. Now I'm going to be going back, and I'm going to be going twice a week now instead of once a week with my therapist. I'm going to be doing CPT, which is cognitive processing therapy, and also dialectical behavior therapy at the same time to sort of tackle, CPT for the trauma and DBT for the difficulty of dealing with FND. So I think we're going to be able to see some serious improvement over the next couple of months, especially with taking this as seriously as I have been and sort of starting more intensive therapy. It's crazy. I've been in what I would pretty much call intensive therapy for like 3 years. And we're entering a whole new realm of even more deep and even more intense than it had been up until now. But I think this is as deep as the well goes, because it ends at, some of the worst stuff that can happen to a person. So, we're talking about anyways, these are the 2 works that I made in this past week. I hope you also enjoyed watching the process of me actively paint this bottom piece. Who chooses the angles of movies of shots in movies? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, that doesn't matter at all. What does matter is that these pieces are done. I've shared with you my experience over the past couple of weeks. I expect to be having a lot more changes happening in the upcoming weeks for the positive. And yeah, dude, it's a new era for the channel. No more sad videos, unless I am sad again, which I'll never be sad again in my life. What are we talking about? Come on. Album of the week is not actually an album at all. I know I have surprised you on that one greatly, but the album of the week this week is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, the movie, because While I love Halloween movies, there aren't a lot of them. And coming up on, well, there aren't a lot of them that aren't horror movies, and I don't watch horror movies. So I'm already on to the Christmas movies because we're coming up on the holiday season, and I am so stoked about it. I'm a big fan of Christmas, especially now that I got a kid. It makes me so happy to be able to make it a special time of year for him. Oh man, it's going to be a really special Christmas this year because we did have him last Christmas, but he was not even a year old. He was maybe 6 months old or something like that. And now he's going to be about a year and a half this Christmas, and he might not be making memories yet. He is enjoying things, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to enjoy Christmas with him. Man, I love that little guy so much. He recently learned piggyback rides. So he'll come up behind you and he'll put his arms around your neck and try to get you to like lift him up. And because he's so small, so he can't wrap his legs around you or anything yet. So he just wraps his arms around you, and you gotta reach behind your back and create a little platform for his feet to stand on. Oh man, it's so wonderful. I love him so much. Such a special little boy. I just want to share a little bit about that with you guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope to see you again next week. If you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps my channel greatly, as you can see in the subscriber number, wherever I'm pointing to or not pointing to. We're a very small channel, so every subscriber helps. Goodbye.